A lot of action, a lot of lead changes. We'll see a lot of lead changes in Indianapolis. That happens every single year. The thing about it is, in this batch, you have some drivers that have experience, some drivers that don't have experience. You have drivers that have experience that might try to plant a little trap or bait a driver to go one way to do another. There's a lot of strategy involved in this batch of drivers at 4, 5, and 6, in rows 4, 5, and 6. And a lot of work, you see a lot of action. So we're really starting to get into the meat of this. And we'll start with you, Tyson. Row number 5, Zachary Clayman DeMarco. I just screwed that up. I knew I would. DCR Racing, Ryan Hunter-Ray, obviously a former winner with Andretti. And Charlie Kimball. I'm on the fence with Charlie. Charlie seems to do well, but he's just not been lighting the world on fire, and he's with Carlin in his Chevrolet as well. You got 2 Hondas in Chevrolet. We're at row number 5. This is where things start to get good.
Yeah, and I'd say this has been the most interesting row so far when you look at the span of drivers in it. You look at Zachary Clayman DeMello. A month ago, he wasn't really planning. He was not planning at all at being at Indianapolis behind the wheel, and then Pietro Fittipaldi had his accident in Belgium, qualifying for the 6 hours of Spa, and that kind of put Clayman DeMello in the seat. And in order to get in the seat, he had to prove his way here. He had a great run at the Indy GP, running at 12th, running 11th actually, I believe, and he was contending for a top 10 late. And it was just a really solid performance from the rookie driver from Montreal. To see Clayman DeMello run as well as he did was a big surprise, and he was able to prove to Dale Coyne that he deserved to have the seat for the Indy 500. And I think a lot of people thought, he was going to be in trouble qualifying as well. But he has run well in the Freedom 100 and the Indy Lights in the past. And when it came to qualifying, he didn't struggle at all. He had less practice time than a lot of these drivers did, just because he had to go through rookie orientation really late in the game. But Clayman DeMello qualified really solidly in the field. He'll start 13th tomorrow. And I think he's going to have a really strong showing if he can stay out of trouble. And you have Hunter Ray, who's a former Indy 500 winner. But then you also he's really kind of struggled as of late throughout the month. It seemed like he was going to be another guy that would have trouble qualifying in the field, which is so strange, even though he did miss the field in 2011 as well. Hunter Ray, I don't really know what to expect from this team. They seem to be a little off this weekend, but we'll see what they can find on Sunday. And Charlie Kimball, another really hit or miss driver at the 500. We were talking about Hildebrand before and his accident in 2011. You can kind of argue Kimball may have caused that by being, in turn 4 on the last lap. He washed up the track in front of Hildebrand as Hildebrand was trying to lap him, and that forced Hildebrand to go a little higher and then into the wall. So Charlie Kimball has a bit of a strange experience with Indianapolis, but this Carlin Racing team, they found speed that I didn't think they would have for Indy. So Kimball, Chilton, they run okay at this racetrack and on the ovals. So we'll see what they have come Sunday.
This is the Field of 33, our special that we run every single year on the day before the 500, and I try to pride myself in gathering the greatest minds in racing to help join us on a panel of the show. We've got Matthew Embry, our official IndyCar contributor from Popular Open Wheel Now. We've got Tyson Lautenschlager of OnPitRoad.com. And we've got our partner in crime at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Steve Wilson, editor-in-chief of Speedway Digest. Steve, I appreciate your help in helping us help you, kind of a mutual benefit being out there at the track this whole month. And so, as you know, we've been doing a lot of posts on Speedway Digest. So I know you're typically our NASCAR. We want to get your thoughts on the Indy 500, but we also want to get your thoughts on Charlotte that's also going on tomorrow as well. Steve?
Yeah, so, where do you want me to start at? That's a lot of stuff in one statement.
Just jump in there anywhere you want, buddy. You're good. Just we're basically breaking down all 33 cars. We just was talking with Tyson, and we're in row number 5, and we're going to get thoughts from Matt here in a minute on row number 5. We're basically talking about all the drivers in the Indianapolis 500. Now, and the NASCAR has their race in Charlotte. So, sir, I'm going to let you just talk about whatever you want to talk about. Go right ahead.
Well, I think it was actually pretty interesting what Penske said, that he was in favor of guaranteeing full-time drivers a spot into the field for the Indianapolis 500. That's a lot of what NASCAR has been doing over the last decade or so. The full-time teams that were either locked into the top 35, or now that they're they have a charter that locked into every single race regardless of what happens. I've not kind of been of that opinion over this entire period, to be honest with you. If you were in the top 35, or if you have a charter, I don't think it should necessarily guarantee you a spot in the field, because the racing has never been about being guaranteed into anything. It's about building the best, fastest car that can ride on the rails and get out there and post the fastest lap possible. I can kind of see the frustration over in the IndyCar side as to, somebody that's very popular missing the field of 33 for tomorrow. But, again, racing, regardless of what series or what division that you're in, it's about building the best car and outrunning the rest of the field. And regardless of whether people's starts or somebody should be locked in because they're a full-time driver in the series or not, there's a lot of drivers that go to lower series and, they show up on race day and they build a car and they outrun some of the best that have been going to, either that track or they've been in that series for a long, long time. And I think that's just, what racing just comes down to in any form of motorsports, really. So for guaranteeing people in just because it is the Indianapolis 500, for years and years and years before the top 35 or even the charters, we didn't guarantee anybody into the Daytona 500. You came down, you built a car, and you were the fastest car. You got to sit on the field of 43 or the field of 40 or, whatever the numbers have changed over the years. And, sure, there's some, I like I said, I can see some, positives into it. But, again, I've always been on the fence of, build the best car, come out and outrun everybody out there regardless of who you are. Put everybody on a level playing field and let the fastest 33 or 40 or whatever the number is entering the race go run.
Absolutely, and that's what I said all along. I think Schmidt Motorsports did the right thing with James Hinchcliffe and just running the car. It just didn't happen. And they ran the best car that qualified for them. We're back to you, Matthew. We're row number 5. Certainly, feel free to add any thoughts of what you've heard Tyson and Steve talk about. But we're in row number 5 for the field of 33, Matt.
Well, let's take a look at Steve's situation first. I mean, remember, Team Penske failed to qualify for this race in 1995. So if anybody fails to qualify, Andretti Autosport failed to qualify cars in 2011. So it's not a doom and gloom scenario, as everyone's saying, about Hinchcliffe not making it in. I think right now the race will continue on. They've always had a tradition about the fastest 33, and I don't think this is going to change anything on that. Now, as far as row 5, great opportunity for Zachary Clayman DeMello. They put the aggressive qualifying setup that Bourdais was running on the car last Sunday, and it made a huge difference. He jumped from where he was, I believe he's like 27th after bump day. He jumped all the way to 13th. And I think if they put the same aggressive race setup that Jones was on there, remember, if not for a broken front nose cone, Ed Jones may have won the race last year. And then you look to the guys next to them, if not for blown engines, Ryan Hunter-Ray would have been a threat. And considering Matt Chilton's teammate was Charlie Kimball and Chilton led 50 laps, I think Kimball would have been a threat. So you've got 3 power players on that 5th row, one that I think that's flying under the radar in ZCD, who's had a great month considering he didn't have this ride until one day before practice opened. And then you've got 2 contenders and veterans, and Ryan Hunter-Ray, who always seems to be a contender. And then you have a Charlie Kimball who doesn't race, balls to the wall super impressively, but somehow he finds a way to get top tens here at the Indy 500.
So in the essence of time, what we're going to do for the rest of the rows, and so that we can get down all of our NASCAR, because we do have a hard stop at 10:30, because we've got to get into our NFL talk with Ed Kratz and Mo from the BS Sports Show. Certainly a big rule came down on the kneeling with the national anthem, and so certainly that's something that we want to talk about at the bottom of the hour. And I know that we've got a hard stop with Steve at 10:30 as well. So we'll just kind of take one row. Each person take one row until we get up to the top here, and then when we go to Steve, we'll kind of talk a little bit about NASCAR. We'll start with you, Matthew. We're in row number 4. TK, Tony Kanaan, Matthew Least, and Marco Andretti. Wow. Has he got the monkey off his back? Will we see another Andretti in victory lane at Indianapolis?
I think we'll see another Andretti suffer from the Andretti curse. Like I said, with the Andretti, I just think he's got the wrong engine. And even if he were to get up there, what I've also seen from Marco Andretti the last few years is an unwillingness to show the aggression necessary to win the race. And I think that's going to haunt him again tomorrow if he's in that position. The Foyt cars are definitely dark horses. I think Laced has the aggression. Hopefully he's got the maturity now to be able to keep the car out of trouble and get to the finish. And you can never count out TK. And trust me, if he is up there late, along with the guys like maybe an Ed Carpenter, the fans are going to be cheering and maybe giving him that extra 10%, possibly maybe steal a race and possibly get a second win.
Tyson, we're going to go up to row number 3, and this is perfect for you and Steve, because we've got Danica Patrick. Her return to Indianapolis has been nothing less than amazing, and I think a lot of us would say if she finishes in the top 10 with Ed Carpenter Racing, Ed Carpenter's going to be on the phone with her on Monday, signing the contract to bring her back next year. Even though she says no, she's going to be back if she does well at the Indianapolis 500. Tyson, Danica Patrick, Elio Castroneves, he's back, and he's only racing the Indianapolis 500. He's searching for his 4th win in Scott Dixon. I mean, wow. Row number 4 is exciting. Tyson?
This row is honestly the definition of potential. You have 3 drivers here who could easily, even with Honda maybe not having the speed and Scott Dixon, you have three drivers here who could easily win at the end of the day. Danica Patrick, I think a lot of people didn't expect her to show a lot coming back from NASCAR to IndyCar, but she showed she did not miss a beat at all. This is a strong Ed Carpenter Racing team. I think one of these 3 drivers is going to win the race. I don't think it's going to be Danica, but I think Ed Carpenter Racing, it's just a really strong team this year. They've really got it figured out, as they often do. And Danica's great at this track. She's going to have a good showing on Sunday for sure, as long as she makes it to the finish. Elio going for his 4th win, and he has a lot of incentive here to win as well. Roger Penske told him, if you win this race, I guarantee you that you can come back next year and run it again. So Elio, he wants to prove that he should still be an IndyCar, and by winning this race, it would allow him to come back for sure next year. Scott Dixon, really great at this track as well, 2008 winner of the Indy 500. He hasn't won since then, but I think this PNC Bank car, if they can just, if Honda can find the speed, they seem to have the reliability this year. If they can find some extra speed for race day, that's going to be a contender for the win as well.
I had a chance to briefly talk with Elio Castroneves. I said, Elio, why don't you do what other drivers do and go over to NASCAR? And his response was, the captain said no. So apparently that's not even on the table. We're going to Steve Wilson now. Steve, Danica Patrick, obviously big news for NASCAR as well. Charlotte, you got Charlotte tomorrow as well. A lot of drama with both tracks, but talk with us a little bit about Danica. Let's just play fun here for a moment. Let's make believe that Danica actually can win this race. If she wins this race on her last race of never winning a race except for the one IndyCar race in Japan, then that's huge. That's mammoth. I mean, that's just earth-shattering news for both events. So, Steve Wilson, your thoughts on Danica's return to IndyCar for the Indy 500, and give us a preview of Charlotte tomorrow.
Well, with Danica coming back over to the Indianapolis 500 and running as well as she really has, she's been out of those types of cars for nearly a decade prior to returning this weekend. I think it's kind of surprising to a lot of different people. Maybe it's not to some. If she wins this race,